Is anybody else excited for the recession? Woo, recession! Woo, recession! You excited for the recession? It's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be so bad. Anyways, let's not worry about a recession. Let's worry about technology education. So it's 2:05, so I guess we will dive into this class today. So as you may or may not know, I'm known as Eli, the computer guy. I've been doing tech education since 2009, been doing tech since 1996. Basically, I have this idea for Silicon Dojo. The idea is, what if high-quality technology education simply was as accessible as running water? So that's why we have silicondojo.com. On silicondojo.com, we have classes like this. You can sign up for these here if you did that at Meetup before. We have office hours every Monday between 1 to 5 p.m. I do 30-minute calls or Zoom calls with folks to talk about their careers, tech stacks, that kind of thing. We do that. We also have our self-study program. So we have a Python introduction class. It's got about 50 parts to it. We've got 450 people taking that. We have Bottle Web App, which is a web app framework for Python. We have SQL, which is a structured query language. We have that. And I'm currently working on, this will be done early next week, Moondream AI. So Moondream AI is really cool. Basically, it allows you to use models and Python to be able to determine what is in an image. Plus, you get XY coordinates for where the objects are in the image. Plus, you get height and width of what those objects are. So it allows you to do some cool things some of the other models don't allow you to do. All of these classes are just free to the end user. You can simply go, you sign up for Silicon Dojo, you take them, and that's it. And then down here we have other videos and things that we've done. Again, free to the end user isn't actually free. All this stuff costs me money. That's why we have this donor box link up here. If you're interested, support Silicon Dojo. You can go here and you can throw in $1, $5, $10, $1,000 a month if you would like to, if you want to support what we're doing. And that is that. So we're going to get into the ComfyUI class today. Oh, so yeah, this class is going to be a little bit more of a show and... Why am I losing people? I'm getting a little performance anxiety here. We didn't have a lot of people to begin with. And then all of a sudden people are like disappearing. We had like 5 people. Now we have like 2 people. Anyways, 2 people's more than no people. Oh, I'm a little nervous. This is weird. Anyways, we had like 20 some odd people sign up for this thing. We now have 2 in class. Anyways, that's how it goes in the technology world. The best laid plans, and the spaghetti monster says, ha ha. Anyways, we're going to be doing a class on ComfyUI today, which is a GUI, a graphical user interface front end for something called Stable Diffusion. So what Stable Diffusion is it is a text-to-image generator. It allows you to do text to images, it allows you to modify images, it allows you to create videos, and the important thing is it allows you to do that locally on your system. So you're not using APIs, you're not using somebody else's service. For good or for ill, you're running it on your own system. Now, part of the class I was going to go through what I was really excited about, because what I'm excited about is things like architecture, infrastructure, right? Just having a desktop application, that's cool, whatever. That's for the noobs. That's for the kids, the normies. What I care about is being able to use Python to drive this kind of stuff. And yeah, that didn't work out so well for me this week. So you can use, here's the deal. I have been informed. There are so many instructions out there. Anyways, so you can use Python to run ComfyUI in order to do text to image, modify images, create video, the whole 9 yards. You can. If everything works how the hell it's supposed to. and everything works how it's supposed to. So, as I'll show you today, running this from the desktop works fine. When I have tried to install the other modules that are required for Python to be able to interact with ComfyUI, everything kind of goes to hell, and I've been trying to figure out what the solution to that is. Again, that's one thing to be thinking about as a technology professional. Again, one of the things too is like with education, the problem that you run into is I can teach you how a function works, I can teach you how an API call works, but the issue is what happens if your system just doesn't do what the hell it's supposed to do, right? And so when I've been troubleshooting this issue, a couple of things have come up. One is apparently M processor, so ARM processor MacBooks, apparently have some issues with the Torch module. So there's something called PyTorch. So that's the fancy AI system or whatever that people use a lot for Python. So it allows you to use Python, create tensors, transformers, all that kind of stuff. Apparently PyTorch doesn't really overly like M2 Max or ARM processor Max. So there are some issues there. And then on top of that, some of the modules don't like the latest version of Python. So we're on like Python 3.13 or something. And some of the modules don't like 3.13 for some reason. And I don't know. I mean, again, and this is the real world of being a technology professional. So you have all these instructions that are supposed to work. It should be pretty damn simple. You're like, oh, that's simple. I can do that. And then everything starts failing. And you're like, okay, why is it failing? And then it's like, oh, okay, well, it might be failing because the hardware you're using isn't overly compatible with what you're trying to run. Or it could be failing because the version of the interpreter that you're using isn't compatible with what you're trying to run. Or it could not be failing because the spaghetti monster hates you and a 9-year-old girl is popping out of the woodwork and punching you in the hoo-has. It's kind of one of those things with being a technology professional, and so I'm going to keep working on trying to make ComfyUI work from Python and figure it out well enough so that I can tell you exactly what to do, but it is a bit of a disaster, just so you're clear on that. Is it the ARM processor? Is it Python 3.13? Is it the spaghetti monster hates me? Could be all three. Could be all three. Anyways, so if you're interested in ComfyUI, you go to ComfyUI.org, you come here, and they give you all this interesting information here. And you can click on download, and we come here. Download Windows for NVIDIA, they've got a beta version. Download Mac for Apple Silicon, beta version. Or you can install from GitHub, and you can go through and you can install it. Once you install it, at least for a Mac, you're going to get a little icon. You click on the icon, and then you are going to be looking at this. Well, not actually this. When you open this up, you're going to get this browse template thing here. And so that's one of the nice things with using ComfyUI is they give you these templates. You can click on the templates and you can immediately start playing. Again, if you start trying to deal with Stable Diffusion on its own, that's all command line, scripting, that kind of thing. So if you don't know exactly what to do, it can be a big pain in the butt. The nice thing with ComfyUI is it gives you this. You'll notice over here, all right, so we have examples, so basics, flux, control net, upscaling, video, all kinds of different things, right? So we have image generation here, so text. So generate images from text. We can do image to image, transform images. We can do Inpaint. I'm going to show you how to do that, and a whole bunch of different things here. There are a lot of different options. Now, one of the things I'm going to say, so I am running this on a MacBook M2 Max, MacBook Pro M2 Max, 32 gigs of RAM, whatever. It's the 1.5-year-old version. It's an archaic, from the way back 2023 era of $3,000 computers. Anyways, one of the things that I will tell you is running these is on this computer that should be good or good enough. Some of this stuff is pretty darn slow. So when you do go through and you start playing with it, do realize the computer that you're going to use will matter for how well this is going to function. But yeah, so we got the basics here, and I got this flux stuff you can deal with. You have upscaling you can play around with. They have video, so we're going to do this. So we're going to do LTXV, text to video today, and that is going to give us two cats fighting or whatever they're doing. Just so you know, I did try to do the WAN 2.1 text to video. This just gave me lava lamps. My wife was sitting there looking at what was created. She literally was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's a chicken. It's a chicken." She's like, "Okay, that's a very, very artistic chicken." So anyways, that just gave me lava lamps. So again, with all this stuff, play with it to figure out, what actually works for you. Again, one of the things I will say is on this Mac, you almost never get the CPU fan going. I encode 4K 60 frame per second video. I do a whole bunch of stuff on this Mac, and almost never do you hear the fan going. I will tell you, once you start playing with this, this poor little computer starts sounding like a vacuum cleaner. So again, just one of those things to consider. But anyways, these are all the different templates. You go to whatever you want. You click on the template you're looking for. And then that brings you to this. So just so you know, when I do these videos, I also record them on another camera that's in 4K. The version, that 4K version, will get uploaded to YouTube, most likely tonight or tomorrow morning. And so if you're watching this on Zoom, I'm going to try to explain to you what I'm doing, but if you can't see everything, I mean, that's just Zoom resolution. There's a lot of text and stuff. So I'll try to zoom in so you can see it on Zoom, but if you can't fully see it and you want to understand it better, again, there'll be a YouTube video tonight or tomorrow. So basically, here you come. You put in things like, so this is for text to image. So this is what we call no code. I don't like no code. Like this is the perfect example to me of why I don't like no code. A lot of people out there are like, no code is cool. Like there's this idea if you use no code platforms, then it makes your life easier. And I look at this and I'm like, can I just have an example Python script? That would be lovely. Right? Because basically you've got all this, they're inputs and outputs. So this box goes to this box goes to this box goes to this box, this box goes to this box goes all the way over to this box, that box goes to that box, and that all goes over to your image. And so if you start looking at this, I personally find this to be a hell of a lot more confusing than a basic text configuration file. But maybe that's just me. If we take a look at this again, we come up here, if I can zoom in, so you can hopefully see some of this stuff. We start looking at a whole bunch of configurations, right? So since this is an example, so up here is the text prompt. So it says beautiful scenery, nature, glass bottle, landscape, purple galaxy bottle. I don't know what that means. Again, their prompts are very weird. So I'll say a green cat eating tuna. I don't know. So that's where you put your prompt in. You can put some additional conditioning prompts down here. Then we go over here to this K-sampler thing. Most of this doesn't really matter. C, control after generation. So steps. This is basically how many steps this thing is going to run through to try to give you a better image. So if you put this at 10, it'll be relatively quick to give you an image. The quality of the image might not be so good. So basically this is kind of like how long do you want this thing to process for it to pop out an image. You have CFG. So the CFG here starts at 8. Basically that is how closely do you want to match to the prompt. This doesn't really matter so much here because all we've got is a prompt that matters and some stuff we'll do in a little bit. And then we come down here to denoise. And so what denoise is how much of the original do you want to keep? We don't have an original, so we put it at 1. So 1 means you don't keep any of the original. 0 means you keep all of the original. We don't have an original, so it doesn't really matter. Then basically, you go over here, we click, there's a run button down here, right? So we put in the prompt, we do the run button, and when we do this, actually let me show you again. Boop. Okay, let me stop that. So basically when I hit the run button, what you're going to see is you're going to see green borders around these things as they're being used. So I hit run, so green border there, and maybe it's because it's already been loaded. Anyways. That's going to go to VA decode, and there we go. We have a green cat There's no tuna there. Oh, one of the things I forgot to say is down here, we have a width and height. So width is 512 pixels, height is 512 pixels, and batch size is 1. So whenever you do this, and again, most of the time the images that you're going to get probably are not going to be the actual image that you want. So one of the things you can do is batch size. You can do a batch of 10. So have it create 10 versions of whatever it is you want, and then you can pick the version that what you want. So I can say, I don't know, oh, what if I say a red cat, let's see, a red cat on a beach. I'll just do something simple here. Then we can go over, we can see it's processing over here now. And no, it's not too bad. So we got a red cat. That looks like a little bit of sand, and that looks like a bit of an ocean in the background. So this is the basic idea behind text to image, and it works, I don't know, it works okay. It works about as well as DALL-E 2, so if you were dealing with OpenAI's DALL-E 2 back in the day, I think it's about the quality of DALL-E 2. Now, all of these images, all of the output, if you're looking for the output, basically what you do is you go to wherever the thing is installed. So normally installs into Documents, then I think it's ComfyUI. Oops. It's ComfyUI. Oops, no. Where is my ComfyUI? Which ComfyUI is it? There, output. There we go. Okay. So you come into Documents. Again, been playing with stuff for a while. You click on the ComfyUI. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at Output. And then these are going to be all of the outputs that I've done. So if you take a look, I have some vampire bunnies here. I have some lava lamps there. I have some horses and some unicorns. That is where all of the output gets dumped to, just so you know. Okay, so that is text to image. Any questions up until this point? Installing ComfyUI or text to image? Anybody got any questions? Do raise your hand in in Zoom. Raise your hand in Zoom if you got a question. Nope. Okay. Then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go to image to image. So this is kind of interesting, right? So we have our frenemy of Silicon Dojo, Louis Rossmann here, and we are turning Louis Rossmann into a zombie, right? The zombie apocalypse has come, and Louis has gone down. That's why we need, in our time of need, we have our Louis Rossmann attack robot here. Anyways, so basically this is pretty cool because what you do is you feed it the image, the initial image that you want, and then over here it outputs basically a modification of that image based off of the text encoding or the text prompt that you gave it. So I kind of think that this is an interesting thing. Like when you start looking at this, if you've been following me along on LinkedIn, I did an example of Louis Rossmann with some sunglasses on. He looks a little bit better. He looks like a real Chad. One of the things I think this is kind of interesting, again, to be thinking about with this kind of technology and how you make money, right? So many times with students, right, I show you guys this technology, and girls, this technology, and then they're like, how do I get a job off this? I was like, I don't know. My job isn't to give you jobs. My job is to teach you how this stuff works. And one of the things I want you to be thinking about is, again, problems that you can solve with the technology, right? When I had my company, when I had 9 employees, I had my company. Basically, you know, the mantra was upsell or die. Upsell or die. Okay, you repaired a computer? Great, sell them a server. You sold them a server? Great, do they have a surveillance system? They got a surveillance system? What about a crappy telephone system? Let's, you know, what can we produce? What can we sell of value to the end user so that we can all get paid? And that's one of the things I really want you folks to be thinking about whenever you're looking at this technology, right? Not necessarily even just the job. Like what valuable solution could you create with this type of thing in the modern world? And so one of the interesting things, again with Louis here, and turning him into an absolute Chad the other day, is think about if you had this run in the back end, you can figure out how to make it work. You don't use an ARM processor, you do use the right version of Python, you get this damn thing to work worth a damn on scripting, right? But imagine if you had a digital signage. Imagine if you had a clothing company, right? So a retail shop, a clothing store, and you had digital signage. And imagine on your digital signage, you had a camera, right? So the camera, when somebody walks in the door, it detects that there's a person there and takes a picture of them. And then imagine with something like this, if it then automatically dresses them in the fashion of your store. Right, you have the new fashion just came in for spring. Somebody walks in the door, snaps a picture of them. This thing processes on the back end, and then all of a sudden they see a picture of themselves in the latest fashions in your store. How much easier would that be for selling people? Again, not just selling them the idea of, look, we have shirts, or look, we have coats or whatever, but actually being able to see it, on their own body. And that's kind of cool stuff that you get with this, again, with things like Stable Diffusion and AI type deal. Anyways, so we take a look at this. Pretty simple, pretty simple. So, the image to image, if you go, again, so you go to workflow. If you go to workflow up here, you come down to browse templates, and we are going to be doing this image to image here, the one with the cat. So when you do the image to image, here you do choose file to upload, and then we upload this image of our buddy, frenemy of the show, Louis Rossmann. Then basically here we're able to put the main prompt in. So here I have zombie prompt. So let's see here. What did I do before? I think I did big nose. Big nose. We're going to give him a big nose. Haha. Anyways, then, right, so you got all these different nodes. These are called nodes. We got these different nodes. Then you come over here to the K-sampler node. And this stuff is so small. Even on my screen, this stuff is small. Anyways, we come to the K-sampler node, and this is where some of the these settings I was talking about before actually matter more. So the CFG here, so this is the value. How closely are you going to match the prompt? So basically you're going to weight two things. And the two things are how closely are you going to match the prompt? And then denoise, how closely are you going to match the original image? So with CFG, it defaults to 8.0, and you can adjust this up, and you can adjust this down, and you can have a lot of fun with that. That's its own stupidity. Anyways, then we have denoise, and so you do noise down here. Zero denoise means you get the exact same image that you put in, regardless of the prompt. 1 denoise means it disregards the image that you put in and gives you whatever the hell it wants to give you. And so you get to have the fun of going through and tweaking the denoise value so that you get some of the original image with some of the prompt that hopefully gives you a zombie, right? So for this particular one, I found 0.35. Generally seems to work okay. Let's see, are there any other settings here? No other settings there. So what we're going to do, zoom out, and then we are going to hit the run button down at the bottom. You can see it go around as it does the different steps. We're now in the K-sampler step. We have a little status bar here up at the top as it trucks along. And it will take a minute. And again, this is the kind of thing that you have to be thinking about in the modern world, right? We're so used to database systems, we're so used to file systems being pretty quick. You click the button, you get the return back. One of the things you have to be thinking about, especially if you build this into a system, is what happens when it takes, 20, 30 seconds for every time this thing gets triggered, right? One person triggers this, no big deal. 10 people are triggering it at the same time, kind of a big deal. 100 people triggering it at the same time, everything goes to hell. Again, it's one of those kind of things you have to be thinking about how this kind of stuff is going to get processed. Dun, da, da, da. Okay, come on. And this is where we do the geek dance. This is where you learn to be real cool. Dance like a geek do. I've been getting my geek dance on lately. I need to run my own geek Zumba classes. Okay, there you go. That's interesting. So yeah, that is Louis Rossmann with a big nose. So this is Louis Rossmann at 30-some odd years old, and this is Louis Rossmann at a very hard 50 years old. Again, when you take a look at it, the results are kind of curious, I guess the nose is bigger and it tweaked some other stuff. Let me see here. What else can we do? We did big nose. We'll just do sunglasses. Sunglasses. So again, as I said before, you can tweak it to try to change the fashion of the person. We're going to hit run, and we're going to see what the sunglasses are for Louis Rossmann. Going through the K sampler. Dancing like a geek do. Reminds me of the old days when I used to hang out with a lot of black folks. The number one quote they always said when Eli came along, they were just like, "Eli, what's wrong with you? What happened to you, Eli? Why do you move like that?" Anyways, I don't know. I'm a geek. Oh, yeah, this is the real world of being a technology professional. It's literally sitting here watching status bars go by. Everybody thinks it's like you're sitting there like tippy-tap typing and it's all like video games and stuff. That's not what we do. We put a whole bunch of configurations in, we click the run button, and then we dance. We pray. Oh, look at that. Oh, I think it even gave him an earring. That's looking, I think that's looking pretty damn good right there. Anyway, so again, we get the original Louis Rossmann. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But man, look at that Louis Rossmann. That Louis Rossmann right there. That's a baller. But no, it sounds funny. Again, it sounds goofy when I say that type of thing. But look at this, right? By simply running this through the script, it changes, tweaks him a little bit, makes him look a little bit cooler, puts some eyeglasses on him, puts a little earring on him. Bam! And this is actually something to consider, again, especially when we start using AI, we talk about digital signage, and we talk about manipulating people, right? So there's a lot of conversations about manipulation, especially with things like artificial intelligence, kind of bold manipulation, I don't know, with COVID or whatever else. Anyways, what I think is more interesting when we start talking about manipulation using AI is what I call micro manipulation. Basically, where you tweak things just a little bit, right? It's like so much of misinformation and fake news and all that right now. It's just like bold-faced, like insanity, right? But here's what's curious, is what happens if for manipulation, you just tweak little things. And again, think about this for this image, right? Not only did it put sunglasses on him, but it made his chin a little bit bigger, made him a little bit more manly there. And so again, imagine if you have an AI digital display system, right? Digital signage system that takes a picture of a person and then doesn't simply just put clothing on them, again, your fashion clothing, but then refines their overall look a little bit. This is what you will look like if you buy our $500 sunglasses. So you're no longer just thinking about those $500 sunglasses, right? Because that's how most people think. When I buy a product, I'm like, oh, do I like those $500 sunglasses? But here's the thing. If I can say, bam, you're not buying $500 sunglasses. You're buying Chadness. Right? Again, I think this is kind of an interesting thing to be thinking about when we talk about this AI type stuff and images and tweaking with images. And that's really about it. There's not a whole bunch more to image to image. Any questions on image to image? No questions on image to image. You guys are very quiet today. Okay, then we are going to go to Inpainting examples. So basically what the Inpainting is again, a little bit more of that bold-faced lie when we start doing with AI. Have I told you I am in negotiations with the alien empire? It is true, the aliens from Alpha Centauri have been watching my videos, and I'm currently in hush-hush negotiations with the alien empire to teach aliens how to use Python. Basically, what this does, this Inpainting does, is you take an image, you cut out a chunk, so you have to cut out a chunk of the image, and then it inpaints, it adds to it, right? So we go over, I think we have the example up. Let me minimize that. So this, right? So if I go back, Control Z, okay, so this is a picture of me and one of the students, Andre, up in Raleigh, right? And so that's a nice picture, but Andre isn't an alien. So what I can do here, and this is the important thing when you're doing the inpainting, is you come up and you want to take some kind of selection tool. So you can use GIMP, you can use Adobe, Photoshop or whatever. This is just a paint software that I've had for years. And so basically what you do here is you just select the area you want to get rid of, you hit delete, and then the important thing is when you save this, you want this to be transparent. So basically what's going to happen with ComfyUI is wherever the transparency in the image is, that is where it's going to modify it. So if you save this as white, if you save this as something else, that's not going to work. It does have to be transparent. So anyways, so I have the image that I saved up here as test2. And if we go over here, we can see that I loaded it in. So basically what you do is you load it in here. You then go up to your prompt and you can say, I don't know, photorealistic lion. Because I am talking with the lions too. So again, you can see it's going around, K-sampler, so this one is a bit faster. I'm not sure that's a lion. You do wonder where it got its original training from. I have that down at 10 steps. Let's do 20 steps. Maybe that'll be a difference. Let me hit run again. Inpainting, for whatever reason, does seem to be pretty fast. And, I don't know, is that a lion? We got that as a lion. I don't know, what else can we, maybe a Smurf? A photorealistic Smurf. We hit run. Boom! Look at me talking to the Smurfs. Obviously, the more you put in the prompts, the more complicated the prompts you make it, the better it's going to be, but just kind of showing you how this works. The other interesting thing about this, just kind of keep in mind, is it does fill in the background relatively well, even though the background isn't there. Because if you look at it, lot of zoom in. So if we look at this, right, you'll notice when I chop this out, so this is so it's transparent. So anything in here has not been saved at all. So you can see there's some kind of window stuff in the background, you can see some kind of wood stuff in the background, but otherwise all of that is gone. What's interesting is if we go over, we can see that it actually filled in that stuff pretty well, right? So it kept those windows or whatever going down. It filled in the wood over here pretty well too. And so it filled in not just the Smurf that it added, but again, gave him clothing that fits into everything. So it does that pretty decently. And so this is what we're talking about when we're talking about with infill, and so you can play around with that. Again, with this, same basic thing. So you have your prompt up here, you put in your major prompt. Then over here, again, we have that K-sampler like we had before. How many steps do you want to put in there? Basically, how long do you want to process it for? CFG, how close do you want to match the prompt that you gave it? So I have 20 here. And then denoise is at 1. So again, denoise before, when we were dealing with Louis Rossmann, and we were modifying Louis Rossmann's face, we had the original image of Louis Rossmann, and then we're adding the prompt. So you have to tweak the denoise down so that we keep the image of Louis Rossmann. The important thing to understand here, though, is that this area is transparent, so there's nothing in this area, so we don't want to keep anything of the transparency. So the denoise goes all the way up to 1 to say disregard everything that is currently in this area and totally create something new. And that is what gives us our Smurf. So that's Inpaint for you. Any thoughts, any questions about Inpaint? Well, it's going to be a quick class today. Quick class. Okay. So no questions there. So the final one then is text to video. So basically we go here. Again, we go to Browse Templates. Browse Templates. And come down here. You want to go to video. Again, WAN 2.1 text to video. This gave me lava lamps. It took a lot of time. My computer sounded like just a garbage disposal for about an hour while I did it, and it gave me a lava lamp. So LTXV, text to video, that actually gives me something useful. Now, one of the things to understand is when you open one of these things up for the first time, so I'll just do like SVD, image to video here. One of the cool things is it will tell you that a model is missing, and so you simply click on this model and it will download the model for you, and so you'll be able to run it. So basically all you do is you install ComfyUI, you click the template you want to use, it will ask you if you want to download the model, you download the model, and then you get the dashboard that I've been showing you. So we'll go back here, and yeah, this is our cats fighting. Now the curious thing about this is that it actually even tells you you have to have a pretty long prompt, right? Tells you somewhere. Let's see here. This model needs long descriptive prompts. If the prompt is too short, the quality will suffer greatly. So you'll notice I have a pretty big old prompt here. There's a negative prompt, basically telling it what should not be in the video. Anyway, so this is the positive prompt here. Now, interestingly enough, basically how I get this positive prompt personally is I like to go to ChatGPT and I like to ask ChatGPT to give me a prompt. And again, I think this is an interesting thing to be thinking about when we start talking about AI. Because again, it's very important to understand this stuff is not artificial intelligence. It's simply not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a buzzword at this point. They're just systems that do whatever the hell it is that they want to do. So, the thing is, to be thinking about then, is how do you build your workflow to most appropriately deal with these systems, right? So with this text to video model that we have, it needs a long prompt. If you're like me, you don't really want to sit there and spend a lot of time creating a long prompt, so wouldn't it be nice to use a different AI system in order to give the long prompt for you, right? So, I don't know, what can we say? I need a long prompt for stable diffusion. So I say I need a long prompt for stable diffusion. What do we want? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't like unicorns. It does not do good pictures of unicorns. Also doesn't do good pictures of birds. Birds is a weird one. I don't know. A cow in a pasture during sunset. Right? So I asked then, ChatGPT, I need a long prompt for stable diffusion, a cow in a pasture during sunset. I then hit go, and it gives me a prompt. A serene scene of a cow standing in a lush green pasture during sunset, golden hour lighting, casting long, soft shadows, the sky painted with vibrant hues of orange, pink, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Just give it to me, right? Anyways, so I take this nice long prompt, I copy it, I go over here, I delete that one, and I put that in. Again, it's interesting. When I went to the Research Triangle a few months ago, I went to the IBM campus. They were having a meetup talking about AI. And one of the curious things about the engineer that was discussing AI that night is that he was talking about with the systems that they're creating, that they're planning to use 5 or more LLMs. And again, I think this is an important thing to think about. And this is why saying artificial intelligence is just a bad thing. Like as a professional, don't think of this stuff as intelligence. Because if you think of it as intelligence, yeah, you're going to think that it's going to do more than it's going to do. right? If it's intelligent, you can just tell it what to do, and then it should go do it, right? It's not really intelligent, right? It's just a system. And so what they're looking at is how can you use LLMs and how can you use these models and how can you essentially daisy chain them together in order to create a final product. Right, so somebody enters something into the first LLM, the LLM modifies that, sends it to the next LLM, maybe that LLM goes out, grabs some information from the outside world, it takes all of that, puts it to another LLM, maybe that LLM then takes all that information and puts it into a format that the next LLM can actually use. That LLM then creates a finished product, takes that, sends it to another LLM to audit that finished product. If it audits good, then it gets shipped to you. If it audits bad, it goes back to the first part of the loop, right? Things to be thinking about. So we go and we click run here, and this will take a minute. So we're loading. So again, here we have things like video. So we have the width of the video, we have the height of the video, we have the length of the video. I think that's how many frames there are. It's not 97 seconds. Batch size of the video, we only want one of these because it takes forever. Got a whole bunch of different stuff in here. Again, stuff to play rate. Frame rate, again, how many frames do you want per second? So 25 per second. And now it's going through, and it's going through the sampler custom. And then we've got to dance. We've got to dance because we're geeks. Geeks, dance. How do you stay in shape? You just got to dance. Geek Zumba. This might take a minute. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to ask the question. Or you're just going to see me dancing. Oh, Jacques. Question from the Jacques. What's up, Jacques?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I was running a little late. So I got a question. So before we did OpenAI and we did prompts, and we were able to, the thing we were able to accomplish, which was very valuable, was giving it a picture, and it gave a description of the picture as a way to prompt. It gave us a really good description, what seemed like a prompt. Could we do that with ComfyUI? When we create an image, will we get a prompt like that, a description of the image that we could probably feed into another LLM, like you said, and be more diverse with it? Does ComfyUI allow that feature in a sense?
Well, no, because that was a new so with DALL-E. So with DALL-E 3, when you're using OpenAI, you put in a small little prompt like I normally put in, and then OpenAI then creates a paragraph based off of that prompt, and then it sends that paragraph to DALL-E to create the overall image. So that's one of the things. Like with OpenAI, you have to understand is they're creating a platform. Like, it's no longer just an LLM or a multimodal model, it's this overall platform. So they're creating multiple steps there. So with ComfyUI, you're simply putting in your prompt. And then that prompt is getting fed into ComfyUI, and basically into Stable Diffusion. So what you could do, and that's where you got to be thinking about building systems, is, and that's what I wanted to show you, but Python was a disaster. Anyways, so what you could do is like with Bottle, you could have somebody put in a prompt. If that prompt is shorter than, let's say, 200 characters, you could then run that prompt through Ollama. So I showed you folks how to use the Ollama, LLM framework. And you could ask Ollama and basically say, this is going to be used for a Stable Diffusion image. This is the current prompt. Please extend this prompt to 500 words. You could have Ollama then extend it to 500 words and then send it back to the Python script. The Python script can then send it to ComfyUI, and that's how you can get the same concept.
Okay. Second question, I don't know if someone... So when you're in the description, you're saying we're tagging LLMs together. That's what Lang... I don't know if this is... I was reading about this. LangChain is trying to do that. Like, it's a process called orchestration. You get one LLM to work on another one, just as kind of gates to make sure they're doing the job they want to do.
Yep.
Is there a way you could do that with ComfyUI and another LLM as well? So so like I text the image and it's okay. I want to approve that image, so then I send it to ChatGPT, extend the image, give me a prompt, send it back to ComfyUI to take that image and turn it to video.
So LangChain I need to play with more. So that's the cool part about programming, right? And if you start using these AI components within Python, the cool part is you can design it however you want to design it, right? So like if I wanted to do some kind of auditing process for like an image, so one of the things I could do is I could put in a prompt. I could then have Olama or ChatGPT extend the prompt for the image. I could then send that prompt to create an image. I could then, in my script, take that image, send it to a different model, and basically tell that different model, describe this image in 500 words. And then I could take that prompt that ChatGPT had given me, and I could take that description, and I could ask a different model, do these descriptions more or less match each other? If yes, send the product to the end user. If no, restart the process. So it's like you can glue all of this stuff together however you want to glue it together.
But it just depends on how long each process takes.
Yeah. So we just got our cow. So that is our cow. With the background, I don't know if you can really see it. He is moving. I swear he's moving. But yeah, so that took, I don't know however long we've been talking for. That took about a minute to create. And so yeah, that's the kind of thing that, again, when we start talking about things like architecture, we start talking about things like resources, that's what you got to think about. Like how much hardware resources do you have? How much money do you have to throw at ChatGPT? And then you build around that.
So this is my last question. I'm gonna let you go. So I know ChatGPT costs money, and it's also you have this running on a MacBook too. If you invested in like bigger hardware, like they're advertising new the new Studio MacBook or a NVIDIA little box. That could speed up the process, possibly, but could you also, again, if you want to do this, which would probably you put your money to? The increasing, paying for the software, paying for the hardware, in your opinion?
It depends on the load. So that's what you have to think. Again, when we talk about architecture, again, that's what a lot of modern coders don't quite grasp. It's all about your load, right? So if I'm going to build, let's say I'm actually going to build a rack-mounted server that's going to do this AI type stuff, right? So it's going to cost me $1,000 for the standard hardware of that server, and then we get to the graphics card, and that graphics card is going to cost anywhere between $2,000 to $40,000, right? But that is a one-time output. Right? So I put that server into the rack, and whether I have one user hammering my server or 1,000 users hammering my server, I've already paid for that server, right? The issue that you then get into is like with APIs is you pay nothing up front. So you're not paying $42,000 up front, you're paying nothing up front. Then as people use your service, you get charged, a fifth of a penny every time they do something. So the issue then becomes, right, if you're going to have 10 people use your service per day, yeah, no question asked, an API is going to be the better solution. On the other hand, especially if you're price constrained, right, you don't have unlimited resources for the credit card. If you have lots of people hammering your system, then by owning your own hardware, again, you've already paid for the hardware, so you don't get any additional cost going into the future. I talk about this with my example of VidMe. So there's a competitor. Anyways, there are these startup founders. They got $9 million to burn, and they created a competitor to YouTube. But one of the interesting things is they decided to completely put that competitor, as far as I understand, onto AWS. So AWS is incredibly cheap for database systems, is incredibly cheap for compute, it's incredibly cheap for a lot of things. But for data storage and for bandwidth, it's expensive. It's 9 cents per gig that's sent out of the Amazon network. So a 1 hour high definition video basically is something like it's like 3 gigs in size. So it costs 27 cents to stream a 1 hour 1080p video. And so this is on a free service. And so if you have lots and lots of people going to their free service and they host all their videos on Amazon, every time somebody watches an hour of a 1080p video, that's 27 cents. And they have no revenue model yet, but they do have $9 million. Whereas if they had gone to what's called a co-location facility, which is basically where you rent rack space, you could rent rack space for somewhere between $1,000 to $10,000 a month. You could build storage servers for not that much, a couple $1,000s a piece. So basically for about a $10,000 per month ongoing cost and maybe a $100,000 spin-up fee, they would just have an infrastructure that whether one person hit it or 1 million people hit it, it would still only cost them $10,000 a month, right? And so that's why you've got to be thinking about, when we talk about architecture, that's what you've got to be thinking about, is how do you want to design it from that cost standpoint based off of the usage that you're expecting. Does that make sense? Oops. You muted yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, but you, if all this is brand new and you don't know what type of, it's hard to so that's the thing. It's like the chicken and egg. You're trying to design something that's very new. You don't know how much of adoption you get, so you want to do what you've talked about all the time: prototyping.
Yep.
So prototyping in this process, just to start off with, probably experiment with software first, and then go see how much we can get, and then go to hardware as secondary if we start to get traction, in a sense, correct?
Yeah. So if I was actually going to be building any systems, I would just go with APIs. Again, let Sam Altman melt his GPUs long before I melt my GPUs. So yeah, if I was going to create my prototype and my MVP, I would build all of this stuff off of APIs, right? Understand what my budget is, create off the APIs, and then once I have traction, once I've proved the concept, really, once I'm going back for like another round of fundraising or whatever, that's when I'd start looking at the hardware. Yep.
Okay. But I could probably run faster on like a faster laptop, like like a M3. You're doing it on an M2. If I did an M4 for like a little bit over, $4,000, that probably would make it run a little faster. And I can at least help a little bit of prototyping.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you got to be. Use a buddies. What I would say with any of this stuff, use a friends to see how well it works. Because remember, like when you're dealing with a computer, there's a lot of different systems on here. So sometimes the bottleneck you're running into isn't what you think the bottleneck is. So like that used to be with hard drives. So the hard drive interface. So we used to use something called an IDE hard drives, platter based. And so no matter how fast your processor was, no matter how fast or big your RAM was, if you were using an IDE drive, your computer was slow. Simply by swapping out an IDE drive for a SATA drive, your computer would speed up substantially, and if you added an SSD, it would speed up even more. So the issue is when you're dealing with Macs, when you're dealing with these computers, you cannot upgrade. Test them beforehand, because the bottleneck you might be running into, you might not get that much more performance. Again, that's where I just showed you guys Moondream. And again, to be clear, I love Moondream. No snark against Moondream, but holy fuck, Moondream. So it's an AI vision model, right? They say it's supposed to be designed to run on this, right? And it does, right? It runs on a 13-year-old computer, and it gives you good results. The weird part isn't that. The weird part is when I run it on my 1.5-year-old MacBook Pro, it is not that much faster. So we're talking about a damn near new computer running about the speed, like the actual output is about the speed of a 13-year-old computer. Honestly, not really sure what's going on there. So that's where you have to be careful, because again, a lot of people is like, oh, swipe the credit card, give me that $5,000, workstation computer, and everything will work great. Maybe, maybe, or the bottleneck might be something weird. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So yeah, that's our video example. So here, basically, you put in, the long prompt that you want to put in there. Here's where you put in negative, what you don't want. You put in steps here. You put in width and height, how long you want it to be, how many of the videos you want to do at a time. And basically that's it. You hit the run button, you put the frame rate, so there's a frame rate over here, you hit the run button, and then it will pop out your little video file for you. Just so you know, this puts it out in WebM format, WebMP, so you do have to convert it over to .mp4 or something like that if you need to. That's just one of the quirks with that, but that is how you get a video file. And yeah. We made it an hour. I extended this class out for an hour today. That's about what I got for this class. Again, we were going to go into using Python and doing some cool scripting, but that did not end up going well. Again, there's weird issues if you just came into the class. So I wanted to be able to run all this through Python scripts. For whatever reason, using an ARM-based MacBook, there are issues with the Python modules that don't necessarily work too well, and also there's issues with the latest version of Python. Doesn't necessarily work so well with the modules. So I've got to go spend a week troubleshooting how all that stuff works, and so maybe we'll have a class on that going in the future. But that's why we don't have the class showing you how to script, because it should be simple, but got to do troubleshooting. That is about all I've got for today. Are there any questions about what I showed you folks? Is anybody awake? It's like, Jacques awake. This is a quiet group. Quiet group. Oh yeah, there's no further questions. I have some coffee to drink. I don't drink beer anymore. Got to keep the weight off. Again, just so you're following along at home, again, if you go to Silicon Dojo, we do have the self-study classes here. The current one I'm working on, again, is that Moondream AI. So Moondream AI is a computer vision model. So you're able to feed it an image and ask it questions about that image, and it's able to spit out responses. Again, the cool part is it gives you XY coordinates, which is actually really cool if you're doing computer vision type stuff. So I have a number of parts of that done already, but it is in process. So we have the introduction here. We have 4 steps for actually using Moondream with Python, and then I'm working on the labs. So this is all already up. We got a few more sections, so we probably got 3 or 4 more sections to finish, and then this will be one of the classes that's up there for self-study, and we have the one-on-one consulting sessions on Mondays. That's all I got. So Jack has a question, so I will answer a question. What's up?
Real quick, and because I forgot you mentioned about Moondream, in the future would you be able to show us how we can implement with Moondream and ComfyUI be able to work together?
Moondream and ComfyUI? I don't know if I could figure out a reason I would actually do it. So we won't.
Just theoretically, theoretically, you could take an image you have, a video and send it to ComfyUI to kind of make it a little different by changing the K values. So if I took a video of you now, but I wanted to make it like a cartoon, would I feel like I could take Moondream, get the prompts, and then feed it to ComfyUI to take that same image and the same movements, but just make it look like you're a cat or a Smurf?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you can do that. I'm not sure I want to spend the effort to do that, to be honest.
Okay, all right. I was just asking. All right.
Yeah. yeah, again, I've only got so many hours in the day, so I try to do the things that I think are most relevant for people. So we might do something in the future where I chain things together, so you can kind of see how these models work together. That seems a bit left field, but I don't know. Maybe do something. I don't know. Cool. All right. Thank you. Your Python course is really great. Ah, good. Glad you're liking the Python course. Cool. So that's what everybody's got. Okay. Yeah, quick class. Cool deal. That's about all I got. Anyways, cool. See you all later.